If accepting his son destroys his empire, does denying him make the CEO a monster or a survivor? The night the shaman called his name in front of 100 strangers, Kang Seung-ho's entire world cracked open like an egg striking concrete. He stood at the edge of the neglected shrine near Itaewon, fingers digging into his mother's sleeve while camera flashes turned the dusk into lightning. Nana Kofi moved through the crowd with the slow certainty of someone who'd already seen how this would end. Her silver locks caught the streetlight, indigo cloth rippling as she raised both hands. The murmur of voices, Korean, English, Twi, Tagalog, collapsed into silence. This child, she said, her voice carrying over the densely packed alley, carries blood older than the buildings that refuse him. Ao's mother squeezed his shoulder too hard. He could feel her pulse hammering through her palm. Across the shrine courtyard, behind a wall of security personnel and tinted car windows, Kang Seung-ho sat motionless. His charcoal suit looked like armor in the dim light. He adjusted his cufflinks once, left, then right, and said nothing. The ritual began. Nana Kofi knelt before a weathered stone altar, laying out objects Io had only seen in his dreams. Cowrie shells that clicked like teeth, a blade wrapped in red silk, a ceramic bowl older than memory. She spoke in a language that wasn't quite Korean and wasn't quite anything else, and Io felt something cold slide down his spine. "Do you know what she's saying?" someone whispered behind him. "Foreign witchcraft," another voice answered. "This is what happens when we let shh, the cameras." Io wanted to run. His legs refused. Nana unwrapped the blade. In the bowl, she mixed soil from the shrine grounds with something dark she'd brought in a glass vial. When she cut her palm, the blood fell in perfect drops, and the crowd inhaled as one. "Blood calls to blood," she said, switching to Korean so clean it silenced the doubters. "What has been hidden will speak." She gestured to Ao. His mother's grip loosened. "Go," she whispered. "It's okay." It wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. But Ao's feet moved anyway, carrying him forward through a path that opened like a wound in the crowd. Nana Kofi took his hand. Her skin was warm, her eyes impossibly calm. "You've seen this before," she said quietly. Only he could hear. "In your sleep." He had. The altar. The shells. The way moonlight would hit the bowl at exactly this angle. He'd drawn it once in the margins of his math homework and thrown the page away, terrified of what it meant. She pressed his palm to the rim of the bowl. The mixture inside began to shimmer, colors bleeding through, gold, then blue, then something that looked like old bronze. Symbols rose to the surface, and Io heard his mother gasp. "That's..." someone started. The Kang family crest, another finished. From the Joseon records, a wave of whispers crashed through the alley. Smartphones rose like 100 glowing eyes. Nana Kofi lifted the bowl high. This child is no mistake. He is legacy. She turned toward the tinted car windows. And legacy does not disappear because it is inconvenient. The car door opened. Kang Seung-ho emerged like winter taking human form. His expression gave away nothing. No rage, no shame, no recognition. He looked at Io the way someone might look at a stain on expensive fabric, a problem to be assessed and removed. "This spectacle," Seung-ho said, voice level and cold, "changes nothing." "It changes everything," Nana replied. "It changes what people believe, not what is true." He glanced at the cameras, then back at Io. For half a second, something flickered behind his eyes. Not warmth, but calculation. DNA can be faked. Rituals can be staged. Desperation makes people believe anything. "Then take the test," Nana said. "Here. Now. Let the blood speak." The crowd erupted. Reporters shoved forward, microphones bristling like weapons. Security guards formed a tighter ring around Seung-ho, but he raised one hand, and they froze. "You want proof?" Seung-ho's gaze locked onto Io for the first time. "You want me to legitimize this circus?" Io's throat closed. Every eye in the alley was on him now, judging, measuring, waiting for him to break. "I want," Io said, voice cracking but audible, "to know why you're so afraid of the truth. If stories like this make you believe truth is worth the cost, maybe you're the kind of person who belongs here. This space exists for those who refuse to look away." Seung-ho's jaw tightened. For 3 seconds, the world held its breath. Then he turned and walked back to his car. The door slammed. The engine purred. The tinted windows reflected the crowd's shocked faces as the vehicle rolled away, security guards jogging alongside like pallbearers fleeing a grave. Io stood there, hand still damp with ritual mixture, feeling like he'd been split open and left hollow. Nana Kofi touched his shoulder. "You did well." "He left," Io whispered. "He ran," she corrected. "And running men always come back. They have to." But as the news vans closed in and his mother pulled him toward the edge of the crowd, Io wondered if some people were strong enough to keep running forever. The principal's office smelled like old coffee and new consequences. Ao sat in the plastic chair with his backpack still on, because taking it off felt like admitting he'd be staying. His mother perched on the edge of the seat beside him, hands folded so tightly her knuckles had gone pale. Across the desk, Principal Young shuffled papers he wasn't actually reading. "We understand," Principal Young said carefully, "that recent events have been difficult for your family." Io watched a bead of sweat form at the man's temple. Outside the office window, students passed in clusters, phones out, heads turning to stare. Someone pressed their face against the glass, then got yanked away by a teacher. "The video has been viewed over 2 million times," Principal Young continued. His eyes flicked to Io's mother, then away. "Parents are concerned. The board met this morning." "Concerned about what?" Io's mother asked. Her Korean came out slower when she was angry, each syllable weighted like a fist. "About disruption. About safety." "My son's safety?" Her voice sharpened. "Or their children's comfort?" Principal Jong cleared his throat. "We're recommending a temporary leave of absence, just until the media attention subsides, for Io's own protection." The words landed like stones in still water. Ao had known. He'd known from the moment he'd walked through the school gates that morning and felt the silence spread like spilled ink. Students who used to ignore him now stared openly. His homeroom teacher had asked him to wait in the hallway during attendance. Even the ajumma in the cafeteria had served his lunch without meeting his eyes. "How long?" his mother asked. "We're thinking 2 weeks, perhaps a month." A month. She said it like she was testing the weight of a lie. "And then what? He comes back and everything is fine?" Principal Jung's fingers drummed the desk. "We hope the situation will have calmed by then." "You hope." Io's mother stood. "You hope my son disappears long enough for everyone to forget he exists." "Mrs. Mensah, please." "It's Miss?" She pulled Io to his feet. "And you don't get to erase him because his face makes your job harder." They were halfway to the door when Principal Jung spoke again. "There's another option." Io's mother stopped. "The international school in Pyeongtaek. They've dealt with complex situations before. Mixed families, media attention. They have resources we don't." He slid a brochure across the desk. "The transfer could be arranged quietly. Financial assistance is available." Io stared at the glossy photos of smiling students who all looked like they belonged somewhere. His chest felt tight. "You're paying us to leave?" his mother said flatly. "We're offering support during a difficult transition. We're offering you an easy way out, you mean?" She grabbed the brochure and tore it in half. "My son was born in this neighborhood. He earned his place here. He's not leaving because you're too weak to protect him." She shoved open the door so hard it bounced off the wall. The hallway had gone silent. 30 students stood frozen mid-step, phones raised, recording everything. Io recognized half of them. Kids he'd studied with, eaten lunch near, existed alongside for years without incident. Now they looked at him like he was a specimen under glass. "Move," his mother said. They scattered. Ao followed her through corridors that suddenly felt like enemy territory. Lockers slammed. Whispers chased them like smoke. Someone laughed, high and nervous and cruel. In the stairwell, away from cameras, his mother finally stopped. She pressed her forehead against the concrete wall and breathed in shaking gasps. "Mom, I'm fine." She wasn't. "We're fine. Maybe I should just—" No. She turned, gripping his shoulders. "You listen to me. They want you to disappear. That man in the car, that principal, all those people with their phones. They want you quiet and gone and easy to forget. You understand?" Io nodded, throat burning. "So we don't give them that. We don't run. We don't hide." Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steel. "We stay, and we fight, and we make them see you." But seeing was exactly what Io was afraid of. That afternoon, Yoon Seo-jin's article went live. Io's mother read it on her phone while they waited for the bus, her face growing paler with each swipe. When she finished, she just handed him the screen. Shaman's ritual or corporate extortion. Inside the Itaewon spectacle that has Seoul divided. The article was carefully written, sympathetic in all the wrong places. It called Nana Kofi a well-meaning but misguided spiritual practitioner and suggested the ritual was rooted in cultural misunderstanding rather than malicious intent. It described Ao as a child caught in the crossfire of adult ambitions and questioned whether his mother had knowingly participated in a scheme to extract money from one of Korea's most powerful families. The word scheme appeared 6 times. The word son appeared once, in quotation marks. Io's hands shook. She was there. She saw what happened. She saw what she was paid to see, his mother said quietly. The bus arrived. They climbed on, and Io felt every passenger's eyes track him to the back row. An old woman clutched her purse tighter. A businessman tilted his phone screen away, but not before Io glimpsed his own face frozen mid-ritual, mouth open, eyes wide. Looking exactly like someone pretending to be special. Stories shift when those in power decide what the words mean. If you're still watching, maybe you're the kind of person who knows truth doesn't bend just because someone rewrites it. That matters more than you think. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Your father wants to meet. Tomorrow. Alone. Don't tell the shaman. Io stared at the screen until the words blurred. His mother leaned against the window, eyes closed, exhausted. He didn't show her the message. The hotel suite existed in a different Korea than the one Io knew. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Han River like a painting. Everything gleamed, marble countertops, leather furniture, air so clean it tasted expensive. Kang Seung-ho stood with his back to the door, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in the clipped tone of someone whose time was currency. The board meets Thursday. Have the revised projections ready. He ended the call without goodbye and turned. For 5 seconds, father and son looked at each other across a space that felt wider than the river below. Sit, Seung-ho said. Ao sat on the edge of a chair that probably cost more than a month's rent. His worn sneakers looked obscene against the pristine carpet. Seung-ho poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal pitcher. He set one in front of Ao, kept one for himself, and remained standing. Control through altitude. You came alone. You said to. Good. Seung-ho took a measured sip. That means you can still think independently. Despite the shaman's influence? Io's jaw clenched. Her name is Nana Kofi. I know what her name is. I also know what she wants. Seung-ho set his glass down with surgical precision. The question is, do you? She wants the truth. She wants spectacle. There's a difference. Seung-ho finally sat across the low table, close enough that Io could see the fine lines around his eyes. Let me tell you what truth actually looks like in this country. Not the version sold to cameras, but the version that survives contact with reality. He pulled out a tablet, swiped twice, and turned the screen toward Io. Stock charts. Red lines plunging like cliffs. Headlines in Korean and English. Kang Industries in crisis. Shareholders demand CEO resignation. Bloodline scandal threatens billion-dollar contracts. This is what your existence costs, Seung-ho said. 4 days. 12% of our market value. Gone. Io stared at the numbers. They felt abstract, unreal. How could his face be worth that much destruction? Investors don't care about DNA, Seung-ho continued. They care about stability, predictability. The story they can sell to their own boards. Right now, you're chaos. Chaos loses money. He swiped again. Photos now. Io's school, his apartment building, his mother leaving a convenience store at 2 a.m. in her work uniform. And chaos spreads. Io's stomach turned cold. Are you threatening? I'm showing you consequences. Your mother's visa status is legal. For now. But legal and secure are not the same thing. One audit, one complaint from a concerned citizen, one bureaucrat having a bad day. He let the sentence hang. Korea is very good at making people disappear through paperwork. You can't, I can't. But I also can't stop what happens when you become a symbol. Half the country thinks you're a victim. The other half thinks you're a foreign contamination. Both sides are wrong, and both sides are dangerous. Seung-ho leaned forward. So, I'm offering you a third option. He slid a document across the table. Official letterhead, legal language, numbers with too many zeros, a private settlement, education trust, housing stipend, medical coverage. Enough to take you and your mother somewhere quiet. Anywhere you want. Japan, Canada, Ghana, if you prefer. You'll never worry about money again. Ao's hands hovered over the paper. In exchange for what? Silence. You sign a non-disclosure agreement. You confirm publicly that the ritual was a misunderstanding. You disappear from the narrative. Seung-ho's voice softened microscopically. You get to be a child again instead of a weapon. The words landed like bullets wrapped in silk. Ao thought about his mother's exhausted face on the bus, the principal's pity, the way strangers looked at him like he was a grenade with the pin pulled. He thought about starting over somewhere people didn't know his name, didn't have opinions about his blood. And if I don't? Seung-ho sat back. Then this continues, the media circus, the legal battles. Eventually, someone will demand a paternity test. Probably the board, possibly my wife's family. I'll be forced to take it. Good. Then everyone knows... Everyone knows what? Seung-ho's mask cracked, just slightly. That you're my biological son? Fine. Congratulations. You'll be the illegitimate mixed-race heir to a collapsing empire, hated by half the country, used as a political football by the other half. Your mother will be dissected in the press. Every mistake she's ever made, every late rent payment, every expired visa stamp, it all becomes public consumption. And Nana Kofi? His eyes hardened. She'll be arrested within a week. Practicing unlicensed spiritual services, operating without proper permits. Immigration will discover she's been violating the terms of her stay for 15 years. Io's breath caught. She helped people. She embarrassed power. That's unforgivable. Seung-ho stood, walked to the window. The city sprawled below him like a kingdom. You want to know what I see when I look at you? Io waited, afraid of the answer. I see my grandmother. Seung-ho's voice went quiet. She had your eyes, your stubbornness. She chose truth over survival once. She lost everything. Her name, her family, her life's work. She died alone in a rented room, convinced she'd been right. He turned. Being right doesn't keep you warm. It doesn't feed your mother. It doesn't protect the people stupid enough to love you. Sometimes the cruelest choices are presented as mercy. If you've ever been offered an escape that felt like erasure, you already know what Ao's about to decide. These moments define us, not the choice itself, but what we're willing to lose for truth. The document sat on the table between them, a bridge to safety or a trapdoor to nothing. I need time, Io whispered. You have 24 hours. Seung-ho checked his watch. After that, the lawyers start drafting different papers, the kind without stipends. Io picked up the document. His fingerprints left smudges on the pristine paper. At the door, he stopped. "Do you wish I didn't exist?" Seung-ho's hand froze on his phone. For one breath, two, he said nothing. Then, "I wish existence was simpler." It wasn't an answer. It was all the answer Io would get. The elevator descended 40 floors, and Io felt like he was falling the entire way down. Nana Kofi's apartment smelled like burning sage, and secrets kept too long. She opened the door, already knowing. Her eyes moved from Io's face to the document clutched in his hand, and something ancient and sad crossed her features. "Come in, child." The space was smaller than Io remembered. One room divided by hanging fabrics, an altar crowded with objects that hummed with presents. Shells, feathers, photographs of people whose faces held stories. Incense smoke curled toward a ceiling stained gold by years of offerings. Nana gestured to a cushion. Io sat. She poured tea from a clay pot, her movements deliberate, buying time or gathering courage. He couldn't tell which. "He made you an offer," she said. "Not a question. How did you?" "Because powerful men always offer the same deal. Money for silence, comfort for erasure." She handed him the cup. "Your father's grandmother sat in this room 53 years ago. She had the same look you have now, like the world was splitting in two, and she had to choose which half to stand on." Io's hand trembled. Tea sloshed over the rim. "What are you talking about?" Nana Kofi lowered herself onto the cushion opposite him, joints creaking. She was quiet for so long, Io thought she wouldn't answer. Then she reached behind the altar and pulled out a wooden box carved with symbols that matched the ones from the ritual. Inside, photographs yellowed with age, documents in Korean and English, a leather journal with a broken spine. "Your father told you about his grandmother, that she lost everything." Nana's fingers traced the edge of a photograph. "What he didn't tell you is why." She turned the photo toward him. A young Korean woman stood beside a taller black man in military uniform. Between them, a child, maybe 4 years old, with skin like sunlight on mahogany and eyes that looked exactly like the ones Io saw in mirrors. "That's her," Nana said softly. "Kang Seung-ho. And that's her husband, a UN peacekeeper from Senegal. And that..." She tapped the child. "That's the son she was forced to give up when her family discovered she'd married outside the bloodline." The room tilted. Io gripped the cushion. "She came to my predecessor, another shaman, my teacher, begging for a ritual to prove her son's legitimacy. To show that mixed blood didn't weaken the line, it strengthened it. The ritual worked. The proof was undeniable." Nana's voice went hard. Her family buried it anyway, called her insane, stripped her name from records. The child was sent to an orphanage. She spent 40 years trying to find him. Did she? She died the week before they finally met. Nana closed her eyes briefly. I was with her. I held her hand. She made me promise something. Io already knew. His chest felt too small for his lungs. She made me promise that if another child ever came, another mixed-blood heir carrying the line she was murdered for protecting, I would not let them be erased. I would not let them disappear quietly. Nana opened her eyes. Then you started having the dreams, the ritual, the altar. I thought I was going crazy. You were remembering. Blood remembers. She leaned forward. Your father knows this. His grandmother told him everything before she died. He knows you're not just his son. You're the continuation of a line his family tried to extinguish. That's why he's so afraid. Io looked at the document in his lap. The numbers blurred. He said you'd be arrested, that my mother would be deported, that everything would get worse. He's probably right. The admission hit like cold water. But worse for whom? Nana continued. Worse for us? Or worse for the lie he's built his empire on? She picked up the journal, opened to a page covered in familiar handwriting. Myeongja kept this. Every legal barrier, every closed door, every official who smiled while signing away her child. She documented everything because she knew someday someone would need proof that this country's bloodline obsession is just fear wearing tradition's mask. She pressed the journal into Io's hands. So yes, if you fight, it will cost you. The media will be vicious. The legal system will be slow. People will say terrible things. Your mother will suffer. I will probably be deported. Her voice didn't waver. But if you take his money and disappear, the lie wins again. Another generation, another erased child. And 50 years from now, some other mixed blood boy will sit where you're sitting, holding a different document, making the same impossible choice. Io's vision blurred with tears he refused to let fall. I'm 11. I'm not a hero. You're just the one who's here. That's all it takes. Nana touched his cheek, gentle as rain. Heroes are just people who didn't run when running was easier. Your grandmother was a hero. Your mother is a hero. Now you get to decide if that's what you are too. Outside, sirens wailed. Voices rose in the stairwell. Boots on concrete, radios crackling with authority. Nana stood calmly. Immigration. Faster than I expected. What do we... You do nothing. You go home. You read that journal. You make your choice. She walked to the door, smoothed her skirts. But Io, whichever path you take it with your whole heart. Regret is heavier than any consequence. The pounding started. Police! Open the door. Nana Kofi looked back one last time. Your grandmother's son, the one she lost, he became a professor, taught history at a university in Daejeon for 30 years, published books about Korea's hidden lineages, died last year with 3 children and 8 grandchildren who all know exactly where they come from. She smiled. They couldn't erase him. They won't erase you either, not if you don't let them. She opened the door. 2 officers, a woman with a clipboard. Questions in formal Korean about permits and legal status and complaints filed by concerned citizens. Ao slipped past them, journal clutched to his chest, document folded in his pocket. In the stairwell, he had to choose. Down toward home and his mother and the safe erasure of a new life. Or back up toward the apartment where Nana Kofi was being led away in handcuffs, her silver locks catching fluorescent light like a crown. The hardest truths are the ones that cost us everything to speak. If you've stayed this long, maybe you understand that some stories aren't entertainment. They're mirrors. They show us who we are when the world demands we be less. That recognition, that refusal to look away, that's what changes things. Not algorithms, not trends, just people who choose to see. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. Where are you? We need to talk. Another from an unknown number. Signature required by 6 p.m. Lawyer's office. Address attached. And one more. Yoon Seo-jin. I know what you're holding. We should meet. I can help you tell this story the right way. Io sat on the stairs between floors, between choices, between the child he'd been yesterday and whoever he was about to become. The journal felt warm against his chest, like something alive. Below, his mother was waiting. Above, Nana Kofi was being erased. And somewhere across the river, in a hotel suite that touched the sky, Kang Seung-ho was checking his watch. Io opened the journal. The first page, in careful Korean. To whoever finds this, you are not a mistake. You are proof that love is stronger than blood. Don't let them convince you otherwise. Kang Myung-ja, March 1972. He closed his eyes, took a breath, made his choice. Then he stood up and started walking, not down toward safety and not back toward the arrest, but forward toward the one place no one expected, toward the cameras, toward the truth, toward the collision that would either destroy him or set him free. The game had changed, and this time, Io was done playing by their rules. The end stories like this exist because someone decided truth mattered more than comfort. If that resonates, if these 20 minutes meant something, this space is yours too. not as spectators, but as witnesses, as people who understand that the stories we share shape the world we inherit. Stay if that matters to you. We'll be here, telling the ones that refuse to disappear.